This is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my war room in Prince George, British Columbia. It's been a while since I've made videos, and I'm going to start doing that again. I really missed it, but life got in the way. If you wonder what I'm talking about, check out the last video. Anyway, so the video that we're making today is going to be on Trenchfighters, and more specifically, I want to talk not just about the Trenchfighters in the game, but also where the inspiration for those came from and how we came to model those, why they look like what they do. So I thought that would be interesting, because all of the pieces that you find on historical board gaming, they're not just got the right helmet on them and they're a certain color. They actually, we right down to the last detail, right down to the boots that you need, the belts that they had, the backpacks, everything is historically accurate. And the boss, Doug, he insists on that. I gave him a sculpt one time for, I can't remember what kind of unit it was. He goes, isn't that the cavalry boots that they had? And I looked at, I don't know. And so I went back, and sure enough, that's how much he knows about it, right? They were the cavalry boots from from the same army. But anyway, so I had to find a picture of the boots from the right type of unit that it was. Anyway, that's how historically accurate they are. So I thought I'd give you a look at a little bit about. I'm not gonna. It would take hours for me to show you the whole thing, but I'm just gonna show you a little bit, just so you can see what goes into it. Anyway, let's get started. We'll start with the Russian trench fighter. The first thing I want you to notice is that he has a gas mask on. And so on all of our trench fighters, we put gas masks so that you could easily identify which one was a trench fighter and which one wasn't. I mean, obviously, other types of infantry had gas masks, but just for the purposes of this game and for identification purposes, we only put the gas masks on the trench fighters so that you could see who they were. And the gas masks that you see are not the same on all of them. That's because they all wore different types of gas masks. And this would be the one that you would see on the Russian. And the other thing to notice is that like the padding that he has on. So that is just, like whatever the guy had, right? Whatever they could use. Obviously that stuff there is not going to stop a bullet, but it might stop a knife or a bayonet, right? It kind of looks like a back catcher out of the 40s or something, so, but whatever they had, that's what they used. And so that's what this guy has. Now the weapon that he's using is a shotgun. The Russians had their own shotguns and double-barreled shotguns, but here, let me show you. This is a picture of a couple of 1897 trench guns. This was an American gun, and the Americans did lend lease the Russians some of these guns. And I mean, the Russians would take weapons from anybody at that point. They were pretty broke, right? So anyway, that's the type of gun that we've used on this sculpt here. And that's the type of thing that we had to do. We had to go and find pictures or whatever we could, videos of exactly what these guys were wearing. So I would have had to have found a picture of a guy that was wearing this type of thing. And also then we would have to decide what type of pose that he was in. So I would find a different sculpt that we had and say, okay, put him in this pose. And I would give the number for, one of the other units that we have on site. And so the guy that does the 3D modeling, he could look at that pose, look at all the pictures that I've had of the Russian and the weapons and everything. And from that, he would make a 3D sculpt like this one. Anyway, so let's move on to the next guy. Okay, so this is our Austro-Hungarian trench fighter. And you see that he's dressed differently. Now, again, like every Austro-Hungarian trench fighter didn't necessarily dress exactly like this guy. It was, again, just a mishmash of whatever they came up with. These guys, they weren't regular army. They were, the kind of guys that colored outside the lines. But you see the type of gun that he's using, and that wasn't normal for trench fighters. Normally they would use a shorter weapon that they could use, but you notice that he does have the bayonet on there, because stealth would be one of the things that these guys would use. to great effectiveness. Like they would sneak into a trench and try to just take that one trench down, that one section of trench that was isolated from others. So they would look for, maps, or, maybe an officer that they could kidnap and take back to their own trench, and then torture him to try to, find out, any type of information that would be helpful. You notice his gas mask there. It's not the same as the Russian gas mask. I think he's got a shovel that he's carrying in his back there. Is that a shovel? Anyway, so that's the Austro-Hungarian one. But that's the cool thing about, buying these as sculpts as opposed to just using a colored chip under them. I mean, I understand that not everybody can afford them, but if you can, I mean, these things are great, especially if you're one of these guys that likes to do the detail painting. You could really do a good job with these trench fighters. Anyway, let's move on to the next guy. Okay, so here's your American trench fighter. You'll notice his weapons there, just typically American, right? Like Americans, they love their handguns. And of course he needed a knife too, because the knife is something that you would use for stealth. Like it might turn out to be a shootout, but you would probably prefer that you made as little noise as possible when you were raiding somebody else's trench. Let's take a look at one of those knives. I mean, look at this thing. It's like they become part of somebody's hand. Less likely that you're going to drop something like that. And here, let me show you another thing here. This is an Apache revolver, it's called. So again, that's just for these trench fighters, right? It's got the gun on top there, but it's also got the knife too, so you could stab somebody with it. So they got pretty creative with that. And when they did actually use a gun, here, let me see. Here we go, this guy here. So this is what this guy would be modeled on, like all of his gear and everything. You can see he's got just a regular revolver and he's got a knife. And that's what we went with for the Americans, is based on this guy, but had to get some pictures, closer pictures of his weapons for the modeler. But anyway, I think that it was really interesting doing the research for this. I mean, I took a while to do all this because like some things, Americans, they had tons of pictures of, but some of them didn't have a lot of pictures. And you find that with World War II as well. Some countries had a lot, like Germany and the United States, but researching a country like Japan, I mean, you can hardly find anything on a lot of topics, right? But anyway, that's our American trench fighter. So let's move on from him. Okay, so here's your Ottoman trench fighter. And again, you can notice the type of gas mask that he's wearing. It's not like the other guys. It looks like they had their own gas mask. Not too much padding, but that's not a surprise though, because it was quite warm down in Turkey compared to, say, the Western Front, right, where they had winter conditions up there for half the year. But I seen a movie. I can't remember what it was called. It was an Australian movie. It was really good though. And it was trench fighting between the Aussies and the Ottomans in Gallipoli. And man, what a great movie. You got to see a lot about the inner workings of trenches. I wish I could remember it. But anyway, you notice this club there. So that club is all one piece. Like it's not some ball stuck on the end of something. It looks like it's, here, let me just show you a picture. So yeah, it looks like it was shaped that way, like milled that way, so that it's all one piece, so that it wouldn't break when you whack somebody over the head with it, right? But yeah, that's it's kind of an interesting club. Not like the French one that you're about to see. The French one looks a little more sinister. But anyway, there's the that's what that club looked like. And here, let me just show you with their uniform. So I would have taken something like this to show what the Ottoman uniform was. But he wouldn't be wearing a pack because he was in a trench and he wasn't carrying anything anywhere, so he wouldn't need the pack. But that's typically what I would have to do, is find something with the uniform, something that shows all the different things that he has, with the on his uniform, like the boots and the belts and the water jugs and all of that stuff. Anyway, so that's the Ottoman guy. Okay, so there's the French guy. Take a look at that club. So yeah, that's supposed to be nails on the club, but we couldn't just make them as thin as nails because when you're doing 3D printed, those things would have just broken off right away. So it's a little exaggerated, the size of the nails on the club and probably the thickness of the club. But that's true of all the guns and everything that we do, because if you don't do that, then just breathing on them would break them, right? But yeah, so that would be the French guy, and that's called a mace that he's holding. Here, let me just show you a picture of that mace. So yeah, there you go. So you can see the nails. You can imagine getting hit with one of those things, and you know, it's just that's something that's going to ruin the rest of your day for sure. But yeah, like just it shows the brutality that these guys used in their trench fighting, especially these guys. I mean, trench fighting is one thing when you're just shooting bullets back and forth and when you're storming each other's trenches, but what these guys did though, you know, when they were trying to infiltrate the other trenches, and you know, you were really close quarters fighting, you were inside a trench, you know, it could be 20 guys in there scrapping it out, and you can just imagine what that was like. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, so this is probably our most interesting sculpt that we made for the trench fighters. This is the Italian, and you look at him and you think, well, that can't be real. He looks like he's going to a costume party, right? But you notice, again, he's got a different type of breathing apparatus there. His helmet looks like it's a makeshift helmet with makeshift pads and things. He's got himself a shield there and a knife. Let me show you. Like, you think, well, why would you do that? You're just making fun of Italians? Well, no. I mean, take a look at this guy, Sapper Companies of Death. And you think, well, sure, okay, you know, that's just a cartoon. But anyway, like, you can see the guy's helmet and the chest protector and the pads and everything. But you think, okay, that's not real. Check out the real one we got here. Oh, okay, so there's the guy. That's a real picture of the Italian there. And so you can see that's they had an interesting take on what their trench fighters would look like. And again, it's just whatever you could find that was going to keep you from getting shot or stabbed. Like you can see, he's got chainmail on there. He's whatever he can use. Some of that stuff isn't going to stop a bullet, but if you go into a trench and you're fighting with knives and stuff, then that could be quite helpful. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, so there's the British trench fighter there. And I think that's a grenade that he has there. So he's obviously not going in quietly. It might be a club, but I think it's a grenade. I don't know what I did with the pictures that I had for the British and the Germans. I don't have any pictures left. I had a lot more pictures for the other guys too, so this wasn't all of them. But anyway, the British guy again had his breathing apparatus there looks a lot like the Americans. It could be that they used the same one. Looks like he got a little dirty there. Or maybe I just got a little overzealous with my weathering when I did the paint job on this guy. I think he looks good though. That was the look that I was going for. Anyway, I think he'd look great if he was painted up with detailed painting. I'm not able to do that kind of stuff. My hands aren't steady enough, but all power to you if you can do that. So we've just got one more left. And here's the last one here. That's the German. And he's got an axe or a hatchet. They would later become known as stormtroopers. People think that they were the first trench fighter, but they weren't actually. It was the Canadians that were. They were just nuts. These farm boys that seemed to take joy in what they did. I don't know, man. But anyway, the Germans thought to themselves, wow, we got to get some guys like that. You know, so they went throughout their army ranks and found the craziest guys they could, and you know, told them to gear up and whatever you want. The crueler, the better. So here you go. This guy's got himself a hatchet, and the stormtroopers were born, and we had our trench fighters. Anyway, so that's all of them. I wish I'd had some more pictures to show you from the research that we've done, but I don't. But anyway, let's just finish this video off. Okay, so there you have it. There's the whole crew. 8 men enter, 1 man leaves. Who's your money on? I don't know. They all look pretty tough to me. Anyway, so we're working on version 3.0 of the game, and it's going really good. One thing that isn't changing is the trench fighters. They are working just fine, just as they were supposed to work. But the only change that would be to them would be the addition of commanders, which is going to bump them up a little bit, which will make them pretty powerful, actually, because they're a first strike against the trench line. But yeah, you're going to want to be able to use these things to maximum effect when you're trying to break a trench line. They're not that great on defense, but they play a significant role on offense. So don't forget to buy these things when you're playing the game. And I think that you're really going to enjoy version 3.0. Hopefully it'll be out first half of next year. I don't exactly know when, because there's a lot of things to do, and you just can't predict these things, but as soon as possible though. So anyway, thanks for joining me today, everyone. Take care. General Hand Grenade out.